second secreting organ must be included as well because, again, we're trying to replicate a whole prey animal, and there are many organs throughout the body. Because supplying every single one of these organs isn't feasible, 5% of the meal needs to contain at least one. Secreting organs are spleen, pancreas, thymus, brain, kidney, testicle, ovaries, and even eyeballs. Many of these organs can actually be found at international markets. Kittens have a higher requirement for iron due to their rapid growth, so providing a high iron organ like spleen is especially beneficial. Now, let's go over whole food sources that provide missing nutrients. The National Research Council, or NRC, has established nutrient guidelines for dogs, cats, puppies, and kittens. There are many nutrients that are met with what we've gone over so far, but there are still a few that are lacking. These nutrients would often be met if fed a whole prey animal, but since we're unable to provide blood, all secreting organs, glands, skin, ligaments, fur, and feathers on a regular basis, if at all, the nutrients they provide need to be added back in. Here's how these nutrients can be met. Zinc. This mineral is found in red meat, but if the diet is low in red meat, this requirement can be met with canned oysters or wheatgrass powder. Iodine. This mineral is found in fish, but it's most concentrated in the sea algae kelp. The brand Now is what is suggested to use as they test for and provide the iodine content. Alternatively, potassium iodine drops can be provided instead. Manganese. This mineral is found in blue, black, and green-lipped mussels, but is the most concentrated in blue mussels. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin that can be found in beef liver. However, this nutrient requirement can also be met by feeding oily fish like Atlantic mackerel, Atlantic herring, and sockeye salmon. Vitamin E. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin that can be found in salmon, wheat germ oil, and wheatgrass powder. Alternatively, pure vitamin E oil can be provided instead. EPA and DHA. These are omega-3 fatty acids that can be found in oily fish like mackerel, herring, salmon, smelt, anchovy, and sardine. These are all low-mercury fish and a great source of omega-3s. B vitamins and arginine. Cats require a higher amount of these nutrients than dogs do. These are nutrients that are usually met with animal proteins. However, I wanted to bring up the importance of protein variety because some animals provide less of these nutrients than others. According to a study in the 80s, cats given a single arginine-free meal were reported to develop severe hyperammonemia, which is a metabolic condition that raises ammonia levels in the blood. B vitamins that cats have a higher requirement for are thiamine, niacin, and pyridoxine. Pork provides the highest amount of thiamine. Beef, pork, lamb, eggs, and seafood provide an adequate amount of niacin. And pyridoxine is high in these foods as well, with the inclusion of rabbit and poultry. Finding out the dosage for each nutrient can be done by figuring out your kitten's caloric intake, then comparing it to the nutritional requirements of NRC. So, how many times a day should you split this meal up? A kitten's growth rate is quite rapid during their first year, so they need frequent meals to accommodate this. Splitting their daily intake between 4 to 6 feedings the first 6 months is ideal, and then you can go down to 3 to 4 for the remainder of their growth. If this isn't possible due to your schedule, just do the best that you can in terms of spreading out small meals throughout the day. Now, how should you start meal prepping? Even though kittens can switch to raw food cold turkey, they do still need to start on a single protein and work their way up, one protein at a time. This is to ensure that there are no protein intolerances, and if there is, you can pinpoint it and eliminate it. It's often best to start with a light meat protein like chicken, turkey, or rabbit. Chicken is often the easiest as chicken parts are more readily available than other animal parts. Even though I just went over kittens needing a balanced diet daily, I recommend feeding solely the raw muscle meat, bone, and organ meat first to make sure that they do well on it. If they do well eating this the first few days, then you can start adding in the fresh foods to balance one at a time. As long as they're eating a fully balanced meal within the next few weeks, they will be just fine. Let's use Tangy as an example again. I meal prepped only a week out each time. In his first prep, I used cut up chicken wing tips as his raw meaty bone, chicken breast, heart, and gizzard for his muscle meat, chicken liver, and then chicken spleen as the second secreting organ. I fed this for a few days, then slowly started adding in the whole food sources to balance, one by one. After the first week, I slowly started incorporating other proteins like pork, beef, turkey, rabbit, lamb, and goat. Again, this was one at a time after confirming that there was no food intolerance to it. What should you expect when switching your kitten to raw? There are a few things that you might notice when switching your kitten. The main one being their stool consistency. It's not abnormal for their stool to be loose during the first few days, as their system is getting used to processing something new. If their stool is still runny or they're having diarrhea, this could be a food intolerance or even parasites. It's important to note that kittens often get intestinal parasites regardless of their diet, so don't be alarmed if their stool sample comes back positive for worms. If the stool is hard and firm, they may be getting too much bone and their ratio will need to be adjusted. Another thing that you'll notice is that your kitten is drinking less water. The raw diet is about 75% water, as opposed to kibble, which is only about 10% water. They're getting a huge hydration boost from their diet and therefore don't need to drink as much. Meal prepping is a step that owners are often intimidated by. Watch this video to get an idea on how I meal prep for my cat.